Hello, so welcome to this next video for COMP3218, Game Design and Development at the University of Southampton. My name's Dave Millard, I'm one of the lecturers of the course, and I'm here with...
Max, I'm one of the demonstrators on the course.
Brilliant, thanks Max. So, we're going to have a look at a couple of games in this session. The coursework this time was for the students to create a game which had a strong core dynamic and also had a sort of tutorial element. So we're going to play the games, give you our reactions, and kind of go through our criteria and just sort of evaluate where they sit against our criteria. And I think our first game is something called The Light. So here we go. Let's see what it's like. Very nice. So we've got a nice kind of title screen. We've got some nice music going on. It's kind of quite peaceful. So I've got a play and tutorial. So I'll hit the tutorial and let's see what's going on. Right, move using WASD. Alright. Locate one of the exits on each side. So I guess...
That's an exit? Oh,
that's an exit.
There we go.
That's it. Level completed. Alright, so follow the colour of the light before it fades to darkness. Follow the...
I'm not really sure what they meant by that.
No. I can see the lights... I can see the lights gradually fading. Follow the colour of the light before it... do they just mean that one?
Well, you didn't make it anyway.
I didn't, but I think I'm just supposed to try and get through the maze and get to the exit before the level completed.
It kind of changed, went from red to blue.
So maybe that's what they meant. As I move, it changes colour to reflect. The light will first lead you to the key. So if I go that way, alright, collect the key to unlock the exit. Find all the cubes to increase your score. Alright, gotta get out. Alright, okay, so it's an interesting mechanism, isn't it? I kind of so the idea is that it's a bit like, you know, when you're a kid and you play that hotter colder game. It's basically that, isn't it? But with lights, there's a key. I'm not entirely sure whether I really I'm going to be ending up using the light to actually guide me around though.
Yeah, it just seems like I'd just be wandering around following every possible option. Yeah,
and desperately trying to... and I think, am I right in saying that do the cubes... No, they don't reset my light, so I still have to...
You've got a number on the top left. Is that the cube count or something?
That's the cube count.
Yeah, that's went up. I'm not sure what it is.
How do I get in there? Around there by the looks of it. Okay...
See, the light doesn't really seem to be helping you in this.
No. It's a cute idea, and I think aesthetically it works quite well. But I don't think it gives you enough of an information cue to actually help you. So level 2, like you said, I'm kind of, especially since you can just about make out the maze. It's not completely dark, so I'm essentially just looking around and exploring and trying to find cubes. Oh, there's one down the bottom there. I mean, it's beautiful to look at, isn't it? It does show you that, again, simple graphics but with interesting effects can be really effective.
Yeah. I mean, in the sheet of paper they submitted, they said the main thing they said they needed to improve upon was adding more stuff to it. So they added the key the player needs to find, and the goal changing with the light changing, which I think works quite nice. Although in this level I haven't seen that feature where the light faded out.
No,
I'm kind of
assuming at this point that the light is fading, but very slowly. I'm quite figured out whether the cubes reset my light or not. Oh, that looks like the exit, but perhaps I need the key. But how do I know I need the key? Is that because I've got a green light? Do you think is the green light the thing that's telling me what I need to find?
I'm not quite sure, but I'm not getting the feel that the colour's changing as you're getting closer.
No.
So either you're not getting closer or...
No. Yeah, no, I kind of, I have to say, I'm a little bit lost as to what the cues are actually doing at this point. Also, I can't remember. I've not been paying attention to where I've been going. Don't think I've been up here, but I'm not quite sure. Level 2. That's where I started. Yeah, so I'm now not quite sure whether the light is just showing me.
Oh, it's got darker.
Oh, it is getting darker actually. So yeah, it's fading. Right, so it is fading in time. So I've been up there, but it's. Yeah, I don't think it's changing colour according to how near I am to things. I think it's ugh, crikey.
Yeah, it seems that because you're struggling, they make it harder for you, so it's even harder.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where the key is. I think that's the problem. I'm assuming I need a key. And I assume it's not down here. Yeah. Okay. So let's have a look. So come up here. I'm not gonna make it. I'm gonna die.
Yeah, I can't see anything.
It's just gone black for you. I can still just make it out. I have to say, we're playing this during the day, so I've got the windows. You know, the windows are not open, but the curtains are open. I've got light coming in through the windows, and it's very, very hard to see the screen when it fades.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. So are we properly? So we're properly on the levels bit now, I guess, and we're kind of. Should we start going through the criteria and start thinking about where they sit?
Yeah.
What's presentation? I think first up.
Yeah, presentation.
So what do you think about? So the audio, by the way, is nice. There's a really nice soundtrack that suits the mood of the game. There's little sound effects when I pick things up. A nice little sort of ting sound when I get the cubes, which kind of fits what they look like. So yeah, audio's good. What do you think of it? The graphics and things.
The graphics are simplistic, but I think with the lighting is the graphics really, and it's quite nice.
Yeah, it's very effective, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even things like the UI elements, like they're really clear. Like that 6 up in the top left-hand corner, the restart and quit and the menus, it all fits.
Yeah.
And sort of suits the game. So yeah. No, I'm very impressed actually. So what would in terms of presentation, I think also includes information design, doesn't it? So
yeah, information design.
So the UI I think is good. I like what they've tried to do with the light, I think, and I think the fading works well. But I'm not quite sure about the colour in terms of telling you what's going on. Because I'm stuck on this massive level and I don't know what I'm doing. It's not entirely sure what the colour is actually up to.
Yeah, so that bit does get a bit confusing, seeing as this is your second playthrough of this level and you still haven't found this key.
Yeah. Must be. Yeah, God knows where it is. Down there, maybe.
So, I mean, we'd say that key information is shown, consistent graphics, and there's some audio.
Yeah, I think kind of. Yeah, what would excellent be for presentation?
So, excellent would be key information is shown clearly, consistent, and appealing graphics. Good use of audio, effects, and/or music.
Yeah, I don't think they're quite there. There's not quite enough going on, I think. And we're still a bit confused about the colour mechanism. But I think it's at least a good. And I'm wondering whether it might be on the way towards excellent, just because it's so nice,
I'm
so coherent.
Yeah. So the excellent sort of seems to sort of emphasise the consistent and appealing graphics. And I guess the only thing we're sort of struggling with is this colour.
Yeah, I think the presentation is excellent. Other than the information design, yeah. So it's that colour bit. It's the role of the colour. Just not quite sure what it's doing, and it's quite hard to tell. Like here, I'm changing colour, I think.
But I don't know if that's good or bad.
But why am I? So do you think I'm? So do you think that's a clue telling me that I'm getting further away from the key? And that the key's up here somewhere? Because the key was yellow, wasn't it? Or was that just the level... Oh, that's the level 2 bit. So level 2 is yellow, so... So I think it maybe would be working if we knew what we were doing.
Yeah, and maybe a few more tutorial levels explaining the colours a bit more would have.
Yeah, so I think probably halfway between good and excellent for presentation, because it is nicely put together and it does look great. And the soundscape is simplistic, but it's very effective and it works well. Okay.
So next up we have gameplay, mechanics, and controls. So how are the controls?
Yeah, they're good. I kind of it's a bit fiddly to get around these sort of little jaggedy bits, but that's not the problem with the controls. It's just the way that the levels come out. Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, it's straightforward. It's just WAS to move around, really. So, I mean, I would say that the problem with the controls is that it's simple. It's quite a simplistic game. It's a nicely put together but simple game, I think.
And I'm guessing the collision is always on the sharp corners of everything, so you always get caught on them.
Yes, that's true.
Right.
So it also is asking about mechanics there as well, right?
Yeah.
So what are the mechanics we've got? We've got obviously moving around in the maze, so bumping into stuff, collecting the cubes, which is just a score. It doesn't actually have an effect. So I think it's maybe a shame they didn't use the cubes to give your light boost a bit of an energy. So a bit more energy, so you could kind of, you can make it to the next cube, and then it would boost your light, and then it's enough to make it to the cube after that.
Yeah, kind of like a battery sort of thing.
Yeah, that seems like an obvious way of... I cannot get out of here. What am I missing? The people watching this video will be going, there's this route you keep completely failing to go up.
But it doesn't tell us that we've missed anything, and at the moment the light, because it's so dim, it's almost useless in telling us the direction.
I'm gonna do a restart and see if I can just find this damn key while I've got my light going. Okay, so in terms of gameplay, I think that the mechanics are absolutely fine, but they're very the controls are fine but very straightforward. But the mechanics, they're not doing a lot, and they could have done a bit more, I think.
Yeah. So would we say there's a set of complementary mechanics and smooth usable controls, or?
So that's the good level, isn't it?
Yeah.
What would be satisfactory?
A satisfactory would be a set of mechanics and usable controls that leads to some meaningful play.
I kind of... It feels almost like more that we're there. It's not It just feels like... So, I mean, if you're thinking about extra mechanics that you'd add in, I'd be thinking about doing things like... like modifying... changing the way that the light cubes work, basically.
Yes,
and going from there.
Because they just don't seem to be helping you, and you still seem to be struggling.
Okay, I'm gonna restart again and see if I can get some light and then see where we're going. Okay, where did we get to in the mark scheme?
So we're at gameplay. And we said it's more around the good level, or the satisfactory level.
Yeah, I think it's probably satisfactory. I think.
Yeah. Okay. So should we move on to bugs? So are we seeing any bugs in the game?
I don't think so, unless you count not having a key.
Fair. I think it's kept simple enough that there won't be any major bugs, because then it wouldn't work. So what do you think about the complexity in terms of the game? It's fairly simple, but it works, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I would say it's definitely not of higher level complexity, but it's there. So what would I'm wondering whether it's sort of halfway maybe between satisfactory and good. Between good and what is good? So good is
game is playable and is reasonably complex. Yeah. There are only minor bugs, and these are uncommon.
Yeah. So the problem is that I think the satisfactory is where it says the game is simple, and excellent is where it's a complex game but there are no bugs. So I think it's probably between the two of those. It's a relatively simple game, but it's bug free, so it's probably good.
Yeah. So a simple game, I think, even goes in under to pass.
Yeah, but I think there is enough going on. It's just it's not it's definitely a playable game.
So the reasonably complex fits between satisfactory and good, I think.
I think so, yeah.
And the bug factor, I think, differentiates in the descriptions here. So, are you saying between satisfactory and good?
I reckon go for good because there are no bugs. So I think it's kind of the problem is the lack of complexity, not the bugs.
Yeah. I mean, there could be a bug. There could not be a key. I don't know. Okay. So
have I missed something? Oh, there's a little bit of a bug there. I kind of clipped through a wall, but quite a minor one. Okay, so I guess we're on to the brief and the design.
Yeah. Just pulling that up.
Do you think there is no key? I just need to collect all of the cubes to get out or something?
You never had 8, I don't think. You've only had a 7. From what I've seen, so it could be.
But now I'm going to die. So
we can try that on your next playthrough. Okay, so level. What do we think about level design?
So one of the things we're looking for here, I guess, are something that demonstrates the mechanics, which shows pacing. So I mean, the level design is sort of fine. But we've gone from a kind of relatively straightforward tutorial to quite a large, complex maze straight away. Yeah.
As you seem to have finished the first first time through, and this is your 5th.
Yeah, at least.
Level.
So it feels like there's obviously some pacing because it's getting harder as this level's harder than last level, but it doesn't feel like it's sort of gradual enough. It feels like it's quite extreme. And I was pink over here. When was I pink?
Oh, you're getting closer to something.
Yeah, I thought we found these. Right, I'm wondering whether it's the 8 cubes that will get me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's quite hard to see the actual design of the level.
It feels. I'll be honest, that it feels quite random.
Yeah.
I mean, and partly that's by design, right? Because it's a maze, so it needs to be a little bit confusing. But so what would satisfactory be for?
Satisfactory would be a sensible level design that demonstrates some of the mechanics, with an attempt at pacing and some goals, risks, rewards.
So I think it is a sensible level design. I think it does demonstrate the limited number of mechanics they have. The goals, risks, and rewards is a problem, isn't it? What are my risks and rewards here? Do we think?
I guess not memorizing the maze means you're never going to finish it.
Yeah, but that's not a choice I'm making while I'm playing, right? That's just me being a bit rubbish.
True.
Right, let's see if we can get out of here. How do I get out?
There isn't really any other choice apart from turning left or right, but that's how mazes work. But there's nothing to remember parts of the maze, so everything sort of looks the same. No,
they've got one. The one thing they did is they had a little room which had the 3 keys in it. So I've got 8 now, and I still can't get out.
Maybe there's 9.
So that room with the 3 cubes in it, that's the only distinctive thing in the maze, I think that's a problem.
It would have been good to have more, just lights or something to indicate where you are.
Yeah, or something. I think it's kind of. So what I'm missing is a kind of more gradual set of levels. Oh, there's the key.
There is a key. Where was that?
Bottom left-hand corner. All right. So if they were watching this, they would have been screaming at the video. So we know where it is. I can sort of find it now. Yeah, so I think sort of a little bit more careful design on the levels would have been a good idea. Sort of more gradual pacing, kind of more memorable shapes. I think that would have helped as well. So yeah, so where do we get to with there's the key over there, I can just see it. Oh. So I think sort of we said satisfactory. It seems to be satisfactory apart from the goals, risks, and rewards, because there are no risks to take. There's no reason. I suppose you might argue that, do I go and collect the cubes to try and increase my score? But I'm not really sure. Maybe because I haven't done enough levels yet, I'm not really sure how my score actually works. I'm more the objective at the moment for me is just to get out.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no meaning behind the score. You don't know. Is it even a score?
Yeah. Aha! Oh! Hooray! So this might help us. So we're on level 3. Oh, I'm moving faster, I think.
Lots of colour changing now.
And I found the key really quickly. Ah! But there's the red exit, which I can't get out because now I'm blue.
Ah, is that what it means?
Or is it not what it means? Let's find out. So that was instantaneous. I wonder
that pacing was all over the place.
Yeah, that was not good. I wonder if it's random. Do you think it's a randomly laid out maze?
I mean, I hope not. Well, you seem to retry it several times, and it seemed to be exactly the same.
Yeah, but I'm wondering whether it'll be different now. And so long ago since I did level 1, I can't remember it. Yeah, okay. So I think if you looked at pass for level design, what would it be?
So pass would be a level design that demonstrates some of the mechanics, but poorly balanced or paced, and with lack of clarity over goals, risks, rewards.
I think we might be there because
the lack of clarity, I think, is.
And the pacing was all over the shop.
Yeah.
Here we go. So do I get? No, it isn't random. It's the same thing. Yeah. So this second level is the hardest one by a mile.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I think pass for level design.
Okay.
What about the tutorial? So it's been a while since we've seen it, so I'm going to quit and go into it. So this was the tutorial. Locate one of the exits on each side. So why have they given us 2 exits?
I'm not really sure. I think they've maybe just tried to say that if you go through one of these doors and you don't really have a choice and it's everywhere.
Yeah. Follow the colour of the light, it fades.
So I feel like it works better in that level when it's a bit more open.
Yeah. And then find all the... So I mean, this works well. They're telling us what to do, not necessarily showing us, but we're doing it as they're doing it. They're building it up nicely.
Yeah, and you can see the light change as you do what it tells you to do. So.
Yeah, so I think that's quite effective. So what for the tutorial, what's good?
So let's see, tutorial design. Good is a mostly integrated tutorial that communicates most of the goals, risks, rewards through level design, and that introduces information and mechanics in a logical way that fits with what has gone before.
So they're probably just about there. I think. Yeah, what's the difference?
The tutorial was quite short, so it's really hard to say. The difference between satisfactory and good is satisfactory says a partially integrated tutorial, and then good is a mostly integrated tutorial.
So yeah, I think. So I think they are telling you, they're saying do this, pick this up, do that. And a properly integrated tutorial, it kind of naturally occurs through the level. So the level design kind of introduces the elements, encourages you to do these things as you go, and it's not quite doing that. So maybe halfway between satisfactory and good.
I think the fact that when you do what it says, the color changes, which shows you what the color means. I think that's
so you get some feedback basically.
Yeah, which I think is quite nice. Okay. So next we're on to design of the core dynamic. So should I read what they have said about the core dynamic?
I'm interested to see what they say. I'm because I think part of the problem with the game is it's not quite sure whether it's a spatial reasoner or a collection.
Yep, or a race to the end with the light running out.
Or a race to the end, yeah. So what have they gone for?
It was clear to us from the beginning that we wanted the light to revolve around the race to the end core dynamic, as our initial idea was to make a time-based maze game. We did not want to implement the time mechanic in a traditional fashion, though, so after a lot of brainstorming we concluded that using the light as a timer would be a really interesting idea. The light is based around one central mechanic that is strongly tied to our core dynamic. The light the player emits where the game starts, the player has more visibility of the world around them, thus making it easy to explore the maze. But as time goes by, the light shines less, hindering the player's visibility. When the light level reaches 0, if the player has not found the exit, they lose the game. They also added a collection aspect to the game, which will make it even more challenging to the player to reach the exit by the time they've collected the optional collectibles.
So here's why I think it's a little bit confused. I think the collection, they have it there, so the optional collectibles, right? So either the game's about collecting stuff and you get a score for that, or it's about getting to the end. If it's about getting to the end, then your score is probably best represented by a timer, and the collectibles should be in service of that. So as we said, they could be a boost to your light, so they give you, they give you an extra 5 seconds on the clock or something, right? Or they kind of...
Yeah, I think that would complement it quite nice.
And then the reason I said spatial reasoner is, and it's this level really, it's so big that actually the challenge I have isn't moving around the maze, although I did just get stuck. The challenge is remembering where the hell I am and what I'm doing.
Yeah, and that you get the right thing.
So I think, so for me, it feels like smaller levels with a tighter integration of these light cubes would have helped them emphasize their race to the end dynamic. I mean, you could, at
the moment it doesn't seem to be in a state which complements the race to the end core dynamic they're going for.
No, I mean, I don't think there are massive conflicts to it because but it just feels confused.
There's not really a point to it, really. There's a benefit.
So what would satisfactory be?
So let me just pull it up. So satisfactory would be a partially integrated... No, that's the wrong one. A core dynamic that is a poor match for the theme of the game and/or supported only by some of the mechanics' audio-visual choices.
So I kind of feel... I wouldn't say it's a poor match, but I do think it is supported by only some of the choices. But I don't think it's disastrous. I think probably satisfactory is fine, and it's just that they could have done a lot more with it. Right, they could have linked it together more effectively.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that kind of the description of satisfactory kind of fits. Yeah. Maybe not to the. It doesn't seem poor, but it doesn't seem well integrated with one another. So
mechanics. I mean, their central idea of the light and the light fading and that's actually really good. I think you could do something really nicely with that, but they just haven't quite managed to get the other mechanics to work around that idea. Yeah. So there's a lot of potential here, but it's just not quite realised, I think. Okay.
So we're going to that then?
Yep. So what's the? Are we on
feedback?
Feedback. Yeah. What did they say was their feedback?
So let me just have a read. In our first feedback session, we had created a small demo of the game as well as a simple playable level. The goal of the level was to show that if the player takes too long to reach the end, the light will fade into the darkness, and as the player reaches the exit of the level, the light emitted by the player changes colour in order to guide the player to the exit. We received a lot of positive feedback around the aesthetics of our game, especially the way shadows are cast from the player to nearby walls and objects. The main point we needed to improve was adding more complementary mechanics to our game to make it more complete. While it was a good initial idea, it was very simple. Taking this feedback into consideration, we decided to add 2 more fundamental mechanics to our game. The first one was adding a key. And the second one, so the key, that becomes the first goal of the player. and once players found the key, the light guides them to the exit then, which is designed to help level exploration.
So that does work, and I think if you didn't have the key, I think that would be a problem. So I think they have done that quite effectively, I think.
Yeah, and the second point, they've said that since the game encourages exploration, they decided to add a collection aspect to it by adding the collectibles scattered throughout the level.
Yeah.
The more collectible cubes the player finds, the higher the score will be. This means that the player now has to not only worry about finding the key and exit within the given time, but also collecting all of the collectibles. Which I mean could have been a good mechanic, I think, if it linked to the light more.
I think they've confused themselves a bit. Basically, they've added a mechanic in just to have a. This level is odd. This level is so much smaller than level 2. It's just I can run around the whole level several times, I think, before the timer runs out. It's quite strange. But I always wonder whether they got them around the wrong way. But anyway, yeah. So I think that it probably would have been a good idea to add that mechanic in, but they just needed to integrate it better. So what would satisfactory be?
So satisfactory feedback was articulated, and some changes have been made with partial success.
Yeah, I kind of feel it's there. So the key thing has definitely worked. And they've emphasised the light stuff, and that's worked well. But the additional complexity from the cubes hasn't quite worked. It's not as well integrated as it could be.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to our next game.
Yep.
So our next game is Horseman's Lair. Let's see what's going on here. Okay. So it's a nice menu screen. It's a little bit loud in terms of the mix, so I'm going to just turn it down a little bit.
It's quite a nice image. I wonder if they made it themselves.
Ooh, play. Here we go. Yeah. Oh, so here I am. Did I miss any instructions there?
I don't think so.
Okay, I was kind of expecting there to be a do this to move. I presume it's something like WASD or WASD does the job. So there's no instructions. I've got a sword. Oh, that's
a
interesting.
mouse.
I've got a mouse pointer that is a sword, and the character's got a sword. He points the sword in the direction of the mouse, and when I click, oh, there we go. Left click. All right. Ooh. Okay. So can I click on them? No, that has to be next to them. What happens if I click on the other side? Does it matter? Does my mouse pointer do anything, basically? Okay. So I can destroy some pots, but it doesn't seem to do anything either. I'm a bit stuck on the wall.
It would be nice if there was something in these pots. But...
yeah. I'm getting some nice little sound effects. So there's some jaunty music. Something appeared then, didn't it? E. So I've got a hammer. Okay. I've got a 1 and 2. Do you think that switches around? It does. Why would I use a hammer, do you reckon?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe there's a giant door.
Do you think it does anything?
Can we knock down the door?
Nope, can't get through there. Let's go down here. This is one scary castle floating around in the sky. Alright. Some stuff. There's also these little cracked tiles. They don't seem to do anything though.
No, it might just be aesthetic.
Oh, there's a wizard.
He's
throwing something at me. You shall not pass. Yes, I shall. Okay, so I've got skulls that don't do anything either. I've got another chest. Oh, I died. Why did you think I died?
I don't know. You open the chest, and maybe the chest makes you die?
Do you think... I mean, the skulls were there. That was probably a bit of a clue. Oh, there was a heart in there. That's interesting. So perhaps this...
oh, maybe because you...
I'm a bit confused.
Maybe because you died, it thinks you need health?
It says you're completely useless, you need health. There's nothing... oh, they've got the hammer. So I have the hammer already? Let's go back over here. I reckon those skulls were doing something, but I'm not sure what.
Yeah, they may have tried to teach us that people who go near the chest
So
and
if
open
I-
it die.
Yes, but the chest is attacking. Look, there you go. So it's a little clue. Okay, all right. Well, fair play. They did give us the clue, but we were just stomping around like completely ignoring things. Oh, there's a switch, which I toggled by accident. All right. I wonder what that does. So again, there's nothing too mysterious here, right? It's all kind of familiar stuff from games you'd expect to see, but they're not telling me anything.
No, and you're not sure what the objective is, really, is it?
And they've given me a switch. Do you think that's how? Did the switch open the door? I don't know.
Must have.
There's also stuff down here. What's this do? None of those evil chests. I'm not sure why I would. Do I get any? Is there a reason for attacking monsters? I don't get a score or anything. They don't drop anything.
You might need some more health.
I died again. Perhaps I shouldn't be faffing around with monsters. But there's nothing in the. There's nothing in the chest.
Maybe they only drop health when you have, below 1. Oh, never mind.
Yeah. Do you think that was a bug?
I don't know. Or maybe if you hit them with the hammer, they
died again.
They drop health.
But no. Why? Okay. Odd that I also don't appear to be able to attack them for some reason. Perhaps I do actually have to be clicking in the direction they're in. Who knows? E. So I'll get the hammer. Still don't quite know what the hammer's for. Let's just get the key and move on, because I feel like I've been exploring this for enough time now. Oh, it did give me a little cue there. Click the left mouse button. So there's also the music's changed when I click the button.
Oh, really?
In here is... Oh, there's the big guy.
It looks like Baby Yoda. No, he's a troll.
That's not Baby. That's no Baby Yoda. That's a full-on Yoda. Okay. Away. But yeah, okay. So I'm assuming this is what I do.
Do you need the hammer? I'm not sure why we need the hammer.
I'm not sure what the difference between the hammer and the sword is anyway.
No.
Let's go up here, kill him. Oh, I died.
He's dead.
I think... Do you think... I'm not quite sure how I could do this without taking damage as well. Because you have to be right next to them to actually hit them.
Right. You seem to do fine the first run.
Yeah.
The first few ones.
Yeah. I do like the change in music, although it makes it sound like it's important that I get somewhere. It's kind of like that sort of countdowny type of music, you know?
Right.
And it doesn't actually... There is no countdown. There's nothing in here, is there? So can I hide here? But then what would I be doing? And he's going to fire at me. I died
and one hit.
Yeah. Okay.
But now there's health coming in the
Now I've got the super health pot. Do you think they're doing that just to try and make sure that we actually make it?
I don't know.
Is it just like
it's arbitrary?
Here's the easy mode for Let's Plays, where you can kind of you'll survive. Alright, here's the.
It seems either they all give health potions, or
got him.
None of them do.
Ooh, that's a bit
Go
wicked.
get potions.
Oh, you win! I got him.
Oh, so you died, but then you
I think
won.
Yeah, at the same time. Play again. All right, let's go through the mark scheme, because I think this might be an interesting one. So first up, presentation. So music's pretty good actually. I said it's got a couple of different tracks. It changes, sort of implying the kind of, the mode is changing, if you like.
That's quite nice.
There's kind of, I don't get a noise when I swing, but I get a noise when I defeat the enemies. So reasonable soundtrack and quite a nice looking game as well, actually.
Yeah. It looks quite nice. It's all consistent sort of graphics at least.
Information design. So what have I got? I've got my health up in the top right hand corner.
And the weapon slots, but you only seem to ever get 2 weapons.
Yeah, well there's 3 there, but that was fairly obvious. We kind of figured that out. So yeah, I think the information design is is pretty reasonable. When I take damage, do I flash as well? I've got a feeling I go red or something. Yeah,
you disappear. Your character disappears, doesn't it? Like that.
Yeah, you become invulnerable for a bit, I think, which is good. So so the information design's simple because there's not a lot to convey, but it's effective. So what would good be?
So let's look at good. Key information is shown clearly. Graphics are consistent. Appropriate use of audio, effects, and/or music.
What would excellent be?
Excellent would be key information is shown clearly, consistent, and appealing graphics. Good use of audio, effects, and/or music.
So I kind of think that the graphics and the music and the audio are probably at the excellent stage.
Yeah.
But maybe the information. Oh, I don't know. The information design's pretty good as well, isn't it? It's just simple. Okay, so what's our next criteria?
So our next criteria is gameplay, mechanics, and controls.
So the controls are pretty nice. They're just confusing. So it's just standard keys to move around. That's fine, and the left mouse button to attack kind of works. Although I'm not quite sure why I've got a mouse pointer. In fact, let me test this out. Do I actually have to be pointing at the thing to attack it? So no, I don't think we do.
Yeah,
So
it seems a bit weird, doesn't it?
it's very peculiar. It's kind of like, yeah.
You could have almost got rid of it and used the space key instead.
Yeah, and it would have made a lot more sense. It would have made a lot more sense to kind of, or to have it. But if you were throwing daggers or something, it would make sense, and it's the direction you're going in.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of odd. Let's have a little look around here. What else is going on up here? Got this kind of sort of weird stuff here. I don't know what that is.
I think that's just a upscaled sort of skeleton head.
Oh, it is. Yeah, and some bones. Yeah. So actually, I have to say we gave him 80 for presentation. I'll keep it at that. But that's not a good choice, right? And this guy being scaled and so pixely doesn't quite work either.
No.
So yeah, you have to be a bit careful with stuff like that. Yeah, sorry, where were we? So gameplay. Yeah, so the controls are good, but it's a bit odd. This clicky thing is, like I said, it's odd. I don't quite understand what it's doing. So the other thing on controls is the range of mechanics.
Yeah. So what have we got? We've got stabbing things, destroying pots, opening chests.
Yes, and we've got enemies that attack and enemies that shoot. Oh,
yeah,
and a
switches.
Switch. So yeah, there's a reasonable amount going on, I think, isn't there?
Yeah.
What would good be?
So good would be a set of complementary mechanics and smooth, usable controls that leads to meaningful play.
Yeah. What would be satisfactory?
Satisfactory would be a set of mechanics and usable controls that leads to some meaningful play.
So I think, I mean, it does have perfectly reasonable controls, and it does have a set of mechanics. They're kind of quite loosely associated though. As the meaningful play, I am playing.
Yeah.
It's just I'm a bit confused, I suppose. So I think, no, I mean we could go for good, or you could argue that because there's some stuff going on that's not quite clear what you're doing or why you're doing it, it kind of makes the play. So like for example, the destroying pots. Sometimes it drops health, but sometimes it doesn't. But like if it didn't drop health, why would you have the pots, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And this hammer thing, it's like, why is this here? Well, does it make any difference at all to the sword? So I think because of that confusion, it's not clear what you're doing or why. So so for that reason, I think maybe halfway between the two, maybe sort of halfway between satisfactory and good.
Yeah. Okay, let's do that. Right, so next we're on to bugs.
Now that's interesting. So I don't think I don't think this is a bug. I think this is deliberately trying to make it easy for us every other run, so we've got a chance of actually finishing. I'd be interested to see if they mention that in their game notes.
Yeah.
So I don't think there are any bugs. I think it works quite well.
So the only kind of small bug I saw was when it said you sort of failed and won straight after.
Oh, because I died at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a small one, and it probably didn't come up through.
Yeah.
Probably a short scenario where it would actually happen.
I mean, I think the complexity is reasonable.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think probably on the bugs front, they're probably up at the excellent range. You know, it's a smooth, working, usable game. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, sounds good.
I suspect their problems will come from the next kind of sections.
So level design and tutorial design.
Yeah. So what are we looking for in level design?
What should we just look at these satisfactory mark and go from?
Yeah.
So a sensible level design that demonstrates some of the mechanics with an attempting at pacing and some goals, risks, rewards.
So I think there is an attempt at pacing because you've got this whole section and then you get the boss at the end. It's a bit simplistic, but it's there. The level design's sort of sensible, although it's not quite clear what I'm doing.
Yeah, some of these wings just seem, pointless, and once you've done it once, you have to just go to that switch and then come back.
Yeah, so that's a problem.
Mm.
And then what are the risks and rewards I'm facing here? So for example, up here, I know there's a wizard up here with a chest behind them. So that would be a risk, right? Fighting the wizard to get the chest. But I now know that the chest is also a monster. In fact, I know now that these mean it's a monster. So it's pointless me doing it. So that's not a real risk. So this up here is a switch, but I need to get past that. So that's not a choice either. So I think the risks and rewards is problematic. What they should have done, I think, is put that chest, this chest with the hammer, that should have been behind a monster, and the hammer should do something, right? It could, maybe does more damage or has a further range. But again, one of the failures of the information design a little bit is that it's not clear how close you have to be to attack somebody. So some kind of thing which showed you how far away you needed to be, and you could then demonstrate that the hammer could attack further than the sword. Something like that would be quite a nice thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think kind of. So what would be a pass?
So a pass would be a level design that demonstrates some of the mechanics, but poorly balanced or paced, and with lack of clarity over goals, risks, rewards.
So I kind of feel we're there.
Yeah.
You could argue that the boss at the end gives you a little bit of a sort of a climax, but to be honest, there's a lack of pacing to that, isn't there? So we've just got these two areas leading to a boss, whereas I'd like to see a little bit more progression. So I think probably we're at the pass level. I would guess that's a sensible place to be.
That makes sense. I would agree.
Now tutorial.
Yes. There isn't much.
So if I die, does it restart us on the tutorial? Let me find an enemy. I'll just throw myself on the. There we go. You died. So if I exit, it just exits. So if I go back in, Horseman's Lair. That's called Horseman. So I don't have any other option on here, do I? So I pick play. So I start off. So that's nice. I like the use of the icons but they didn't tell me what to do to start with, and then that's it.
No,
there's nothing else.
Movement.
So
but, I mean, at that point where you were just locked in the sort of square room, the only thing you could do was move and go up to those.
Oh, I've gone red. I've noticed another little bug. So maybe we for the bugs we ought to put it halfway between good and excellent, because there's a couple of things you notice now that. So for the tutorial, it is fairly straightforward, but they don't tell you to use the WASD keys to move about. They don't tell you about the weapons. They don't give you any reason for. They don't tell you what the hammer does or give you any reason for swapping to it. They don't even tell you what the mechanism is. They do tell you to pick it up like that, but then there's nothing like press 1 and 2 to...
No. And the only instructions are click and push E. Those are the only two.
And then up here as well, you've got this, but you can't see it. So what should have happened is the door should be here, right, on the right-hand side. So when I click the switch, I see the door open, and then I come back round to get to it and open it up. So I think they've
been done with sound as well. You know, you can hear a door open or something.
Yeah, that's true. And maybe they could have primed that by having some other door that was open, and I heard the sound first or something. So I think on the tutorial element we have a bit of a problem. So what would pass be?
All right. So a pass would be a tutorial that communicates some goals, risks, rewards, and that introduces some information and mechanics in a logical way.
So I would say that it doesn't really introduce our goals at all, but it does introduce some mechanics, and it does do that in a logical way. What would be lower than the pass?
So a tutorial that communicates some goals, risks, rewards, and that introduces some information mechanics. So without the in a logical way part.
Okay, so I think it's better than that. So I think it probably is a pass.
Yeah.
And I would say, I mean, it does have some elements. So it does have the, this little thing that pops up. This is nice. So maybe it's halfway between a pass and a satisfactory because of the prompts, the on-screen prompts for things. But it's just that they're missing quite a lot of stuff to tell you what to do, including the overall aim. And they certainly haven't used level design to teach you how to play. Okay.
No.
So So what's our next criteria?
So next criteria is our core dynamic.
That's interesting.
They've written three long paragraphs about this.
So what do you think it is or have you read it already?
I mean, I'd say it's probably destruction. You're killing these creatures, you're killing these chests with teeth, and you're killing this boss at the end, and that's the overall.
And there's no reward for doing anything else. I mean, there's not much reward for anything, because there's not really any reward for destruction either. But
apart from the you win.
Apart from the you win, yeah. So there's no. You're not getting XP or score or anything. But okay, so what did they say it was?
So they've said their game is a mix of destruction and exploration.
Yeah. I wondered if
they
they'd go for
around the
exploration.
map, obliged to answer the threats of lurking enemies. As the player explores, they are rewarded with more powerful weapons. So I guess that weapon's more powerful than a hammer, but you would have thought a sword is more powerful than a hammer.
Yeah. Actually, the hammer does seem to be further, so I can kind of. I think it's got a further range.
Yeah.
Sword.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. Let's try and figure it out.
Although I think they could have swapped that round, had the hammer as the short range object and the sword the better one. Because if someone comes at me in real life with a hammer or a sword, I'd be scared of the sword. So they also say the pots the player can smash have a chance of dropping heart pickups, but I think we kind of saw that it was either they all drop them or none of them drop them.
Yeah. So I think we assumed that was them being nice to us, but maybe that is another bug. I don't know. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt and assume that it wasn't a bug. But okay. So why it's not an exploration game, because that's not the point, right? My whole purpose here is to kill enemies, and in fact my win condition is killing a boss, right? If my job was to find some stuff and then get out, then that would be more of an explore, I think. So I think it is a destruction game. And in terms of the mechanics, I mean, certainly the main mechanic, which obviously hitting enemies, that kind of fits. And some of the other mechanics in there, like picking up the hammer, in theory should support it, although of course, because we can't figure out what the hammer does, it sort of doesn't quite work, but the intention's there. What would satisfactory be?
Right, so we've got satisfactory as a core dynamic that is a poor match for the theme of the game and or is supported by only some of the mechanics and audio-visual choices.
And what would be a good?
So a good would be a clear core dynamic that can't read that. Suits the theme of the game, and that is well supported by the primary mechanics and mostly appropriate audio-visual choices.
So, I mean, I don't think that the things you can do detract. They are, you are destroying stuff, like destroying pots, destroying enemies, picking up weapons to destroy stuff, fighting a big bad boss at the end. They're all pulling in the same direction. It's just perhaps that they're not quite gelling together particularly well, right?
No.
So I think, that's either a good or slightly below a good. What do you think?
I'd say that as well. I wouldn't say the core dynamic is a poor match.
No.
Because there's different types of enemies that you have to kill. So there are some other sort of aspects that complement that. Although the exploration factor, I don't think helped it at all, and in fact made it. You've got these areas that you just don't need to go into.
Yeah. So it's down here, for example. It's pointless, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And maybe if there was a weapon there, that backs up the destruction mechanics.
Yeah. So it kind of it doesn't distract, but it's kind of it's not quite neutral either. Maybe put it between the two, between satisfactory and good.
Yeah, that sounds
to reflect the fact there's stuff to do which has no relation whatsoever to the thing itself, but the majority of the things you're doing are in line with the core dynamic. All right, and finally, I guess feedback.
So, the feedback was that the game needed to have a variety of weapons. For that reason, we had 3 different weapons. We haven't seen a third.
No.
A basic sword the player starts with, a hammer with devastating damage that the player acquires from the first chest, and finally a magical staff that shoots fireballs at things from a safe distance. Now that sounds good.
Where's that?
I don't know. Perhaps the chests that you smash open, they're only if you smash them, they get destroyed, and you meant to push E unless they have skulls. Then you meant to smash. It's maybe this one.
Ah, you're right.
Aha! So I don't think that was quite clear.
Nope. I think this goes back to the tutorializing bit. Also, it's a bit odd that I actually run as fast as my own fireballs. Oh, my fireballs have... There you go.
Interesting.
Okay, well I'm glad they mentioned it, because it would have been a shame not to... Although it also makes doing this boss quite simple, I thought. And that now, all of a sudden, because I fire them in the direction my thing's pointing. So now that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. That's interesting. So if you smash the chests, you lose the reward. So there is some risk reward there.
Well,
in some way.
Well, only that you have to identify which chest is which.
Yeah, that is true. Although that one's not clear because there's no skulls near it.
Yeah, so that's still a bit confused. But all right, so that kind of all right. So they put in the extra weapons to give them a bit more mechanics to play with. I think that was wise. What else did they say?
They also said they proposed the idea of a companion that shows the player what to do during our early stages of development. In the feedback session, we were told that the choice would provide very little practicality for too much effort. For this reason, we discarded the idea and kept a simple, intuitive UI that shows the controls to the player.
Yeah.
They also discussed that they shouldn't include too many traps in the game, or otherwise it would lose the sense of destruction.
Yeah.
Thus, we have kept only one trap, which is also an enemy that can be destroyed, therefore not taken away from the destruction dynamic.
Yes. I mean, I think the way to make traps and destruction work is if the enemies fall for the traps too, and then you can do things like lure the enemies into the traps. So yeah, I'm not necessarily sure that the traps was the problem, but perhaps more the way in which they were using the traps. Yeah. Okay. So what would a satisfactory be for feedback?
So satisfactory would be feedback was articulated and some changes have been made with partial success.
So to me that feels about right. They've talked about some feedback. They've not quite got the thing right with the traps, but they certainly got the thing right with the mechanics and the weapons. Although they haven't. The problem is they haven't tutorialized it, so we didn't really understand what was going on.
No. And we didn't understand what the hammer did more than the sword. things like that.
Also, I think
so yeah.
the E didn't pop up here either. That confused me. So,
Yeah.
But obviously they have told me about that already. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So should we go with satisfactory for that then?
I think so. Okay, and I think that's it. That's our last game, isn't it, for this this video?
It is.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you in another video.
Goodbye.